thank you for joining us. This is actually our first of these sessions. It was really born out of, I suppose, constantly being asked to work on scripts and dialogues with people, which is very, very valid. It's really important. And I just thought what would be really good is, instead of just doing stuff ad hoc, let's develop a series. We've got a seven session dialogue series, which are rolling out every fortnight. So this is the kickoff. So well done for everyone who's made it on. You've actually made it for the beginning. And as I mentioned, we've got the one and only Kelly Tatlow and Katie Giles joining us from Ray White Concierge today, and they'll be taking the most of the content today. I was thrilled when Kelly said that she was able to join us, because she has developed this amazing communication course, which if you've never done it, I would urge you to one day go up to Concierge and take part in it, because it is just fantastic for improving your communication skills on the phone and otherwise. And Kelly's going to share some of the insights from her communication skills. She runs Concierge. It is our call centre and insurance provider up there in Brisbane. Kelly has, you can correct me, but dozens of telemarketers making beautiful phone calls every single day. So if anyone knows how to facilitate fantastic phone calls and great dialogue, it's Kelly, and it's Katie Giles who's joining her as well. So I'll pass over to Kelly in a moment. Thank you. So our session, as I said, we're going to have 7 sessions. Today we're starting off with preparation. So Kel's going to talk us through getting ready, making sure we've got our head right, that we're armed to start and execute calls as best we can, and address the objections that we may have really early on in those phone calls. So she's going to get us ready. The next session that we're doing in 2 weeks is going to be all around gathering geodata, building a database. So scripts for both telephone and door knocking, for getting a homeowner to engage with you and give you their details, so that you can then continue to nurture the relationship over the time. The third session is going to be open inspection callbacks, really focusing on vetting for our vendor report. So does a person want to buy a home? How do we get really good quality feedback to go into the vendor report, and to give feedback to our vendors that we actually want them to see, that's going to work for our stock management aspect of the campaign. The second OFI callback session will be all around leveraging the opportunities. So does the person own a home? Do they need an appraisal? Do they have investment opportunities? Could they be a buyer? Could they be a loan market referral? So that will be the second session. The session after that will be all around listing, fee objection and closing skills. So dialogue around those difficult conversations at the listing table. Following that, we'll be moving into tough dialogue and conversations with our vendors for vendor management. And then our final session will be all around negotiation, when we're stuck right in the middle of either an auction that pauses or a private treaty negotiation, using really great language to get fantastic outcomes there. So it is quite a comprehensive series. It will be fortnightly at the same time. So every 2 weeks at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, please join in. You will have to register for each session individually via the training calendar using the Zoom link. But we would love to have you join us for as many of those as you see relevant. So without further ado, I will hand you over to Kelly and Katie. Thank you so much. Kel, would you like me to drive the slides?
Oh, that would be amazing. That Katie was here from a technical perspective, and she's probably so thrilled that you're going to do that.
Yes,
that would be lovely. Thanks, Bianca.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks,
Bye.
Katie Giles. Welcome, everybody. And this sounds like a really exciting program. Bianca, well done for putting it together. I know how important all of those skills are. And it's fantastic to see so many people online. I know that you're at home and that's pretty yucky, but it is a really great time to get back to strategy and prepare and reset yourself for when, you're back out there flying around. So really super keen to spend some time with you. So today is, as Bianca said, really the initial stages, preparing before you're actually embarking on conversations with your clients. I'm sure you've probably heard the phrase, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Nothing is more true. I'm sure each and every one of you have presented at school or presented at uni and you haven't prepared and it hasn't gone as well as you've liked. I'm sure you've gone into exams in years gone by or even recently and haven't gone as well as you've liked and wish you'd prepared. Anything important, a vendor presentation, a listing presentation, even as something as simple as a phone call, you should really prepare yourself so you can get the best outcome. So that's what today is about. I would say 40 to 50% of your success will come down to the preparation that you've made. And it also allows you to feel really confident. When we're talking about making telephone calls, as Bianca said, I've got nearly 100 people here at Concierge making calls. I've been doing this for a long time, but I do work closely with a lot of agents and a lot of business owners in the network. And sometimes I hear and I walk past calls that aren't made well just because there's no preparation. And the person in your shoes making the calls feels embarrassed, they feel terrible, they feel awkward. Did they make the call poorly and the customer reacts badly? And then they go, I'm not going to do that stuff. It's not for me. So preparing will make you confident and it will make a better process. So let's go to the next slide. There are three main elements and it's surprising how simple they are. And they're probably common sense, but I'm sure you know common sense isn't always common practice. So before embarking on any telephone calls or even verbal conversations, the three main things for you to think about, and I would write them down. I learn by writing and it helps me sort of get my thoughts down. Who are you going to communicate with? And we'll talk about this in a few slides, but who is it? Like, do you know that person? Have you met them? Do you have a relationship with them or don't you? As you know, all of those things make a difference in how you interact with someone. So it's really good to have a think about that. How have you identified this person? Are they a landlord? Are they someone you met at an open home? Or are they someone that owns a home in your street? We'll talk about that. But if you haven't worked out who you're communicating to, you can't get to the what and the how, because you should be communicating differently to people you know, to people that you don't know, and where someone's done something real estate related that you can follow up on. So I would write down, I know the person, I've got a great relationship, I'm friends with them, I met them here, or I haven't met them before. And then, you know, what category are they in, or what sort of person are they? If they're a prospect or the homeowner in the area where you met them at an open home, whether they're a prospective vendor, whether you've appraised their property, just make a little note of that. Then that will very easily give you the answer to the next question, or more easily, what to communicate about. So many people say to me, I feel weird, I feel creepy, and I feel embarrassed because I don't know what to say on the phone. Like, I've got no reason. But if you think about who it is and what scenario the person's in, then that narrows down the field of communicating and what to communicate about. And some of that is going to be covered in the next sessions that Bianca does for you. And then it's the how. You know, what's the best way? Is it a text and then a phone call and then an email? Is some opportunities more a personal visit? And is that followed by a text? Is it sometimes all three? I'm really in favor of layered marketing. Like, don't just knock on the door. Follow that door knock up with a text or an email. Don't only communicate via text. Make sure you've got phone calls in there so it's two-way. Think about what's going to be the relevant way to that person, to what you have to communicate. And then should it just be one form or should there be multiple forms? We'll move on from here, but who you're communicating to, what, and then the how. I do find that a lot of us are very singularly focused on the how, and we just think it's only calls, or it's only door knock, or it's only email, and it's only SMS. And the truth is, it's probably a combination of each of those things, depending on your message, who the person is and what your relationship is. And you should be changing that up all the time to make your communication interesting. All right, the next slide. This is my favorite concept, and it's relevant to email communication, it's relevant to text, and it's relevant to phone call conversation. So I'll talk about it today in terms of the phone call. If you're initiating a conversation, then you're in the driver's seat here. You've got to control this. It's a little bit easier when someone calls you on the inbound and you answer the call, they leave the call and you respond. But it's a bit harder when you're driving an outbound call. And it's a little bit harder if you don't know the person as well. So we're going to take it from the hardest scenario. You're making an outbound call to someone and they don't know you, you don't know them very well, and they don't have your phone number saved in their phone. As you know, most people that you deal with, from business or personal, you got the number in the phone, you see it ringing and you go, hi, Bianca, or hi, Kelly, and you sort of have a feel of what the call is going to be about. But it's a totally different scenario when it's a very cold call. So I'm going to get close up because my eyes aren't very good. I'm going to ask Ben Murphy, to answer this one. And I'm sure everyone on the call is going to have exactly the same answers as Ben. So think about it, and I want you to write the answer down to these two questions. And then, Ben, I'm going to get you to share yours. So if you were a person hanging around in the world, you might be sitting at home like you are now, working. You could be at the supermarket. You could be doing hot yoga, having champagne with your friends, having a beer with your mates, picking up the kids from stop, drop and go, whatever it is. Your phone rings. You don't recognize the number. You're about to answer it. You are going to answer it. It's going to be good. But you are wondering two questions. Can you all please write those two questions down on a piece of paper? What two questions are you thinking prior to picking up the phone call? All right, Ben, could you please take yourself off mute and share your answers? Ben Murphy, is that you? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, no problem.
Ben's not answering.
Hello.
Unable to unmute.
Joseph, we'll go with you. Oh, yep. Okay. You can write them down, Ben.
I'll answer them if you want.
Okay, you can answer. Who is that?
It's Anton from
Anton. All right, Anton, what have you got?
Who is it and what do they want?
Okay, thumbs up if you had those same two questions.
Yeah, what's the reason for the call? Yeah, and who is it? Spot
yeah.
on.
Who is it? And what do you want? How quickly, Anton, does someone answering the phone want to know that information?
Within about 5 to 10 seconds.
Yes, exactly. Immediately. Every single person answering a phone call in South Australia, anywhere in Queensland, anywhere in New Zealand, wants to know who is it and what are you calling about. They want you to answer it straight away, and they don't want to have a really big, long conversation with you. Would that be right? They want you to get to the point. That's brilliant. Unfortunately, not everyone's done this training program that Bianca's put together, and they do the opposite of that. And this is the first point of failure when making phone calls to people that you don't know. So I'm going to show you the sorts of things I hear when I go to offices and listen to people to making calls. So Bailey, could I please get you to take yourself off mute? And you can be my role play buddy. So Bailey, you're going to be Bailey Truscott. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Yep. Hanging around in the world, doing whatever you're doing. I'm going to be Kelly Tatlow from Ray White, Morphett Vale, and I'm going to be giving you a call. So you can just be yourself, answer the phone, Your job's pretty easy. I'll be the phone ringing. So I'll do ring, 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 and you can answer.
All right.
Ring, 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 ring. Ring.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Is that Bailey?
It is.
Oh, lovely. That's terrific. And is it Bailey Truscott that I'm speaking to?
Yeah. How can I help?
Oh, fabulous. Thank you so much. Oh, firstly, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks.
Okay, you coping with lockdown okay?
Oh, could be better.
Yeah, you got any jigsaw puzzles going on?
Nah, not a lot, mate, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, it's a bit of a cold, old, miserable day, isn't it?
It is actually, yeah, it's freezing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, look, I might take a couple of seconds of your time. Just want to see if you've got a couple of moments to, got some really great news.
Yeah, I'm pretty busy actually, to be honest.
Okay, all right. All right, we'll stop there. Thank you, Bailey. So, was I polite? Thumbs up if I was polite. Was I friendly? Oh, I was a lovely person, wasn't I? And Bailey was really lovely not to hang up on me. So the lovelier you are, the less likely someone's going to hang up on you. So if you can be as lovely as you can, that's great. But loveliness doesn't get you everywhere if you're not addressing what every single person in the world wants to know. So did I answer Bailey's question, who am I? Do you know who I am?
Nope.
No. Do you know what I want by this stage of the call? No. Bailey, could I get you to take yourself off mute again and just give me give the team, like, how are you feeling?
I don't know, a little bit annoyed.
A little bit annoyed, yeah.
Yeah, just some random calling me for no reason.
Bit frustrated, yeah. But you are
Yeah.
lovely. You're a lovely customer. I'm sure you've had people that have not been as lovely when they're annoyed as Bailey. But
Yeah.
I did not, you were already a bit suspicious. You were getting a bit angsty. You wanted me to get onto it. And I'd already had started to lose you before I even got to what I wanted to do. Would that be right?
Yeah.
Great. So do you remember what I did incorrectly right at the start? Anyone can take their and I think Bailey, you actually had a bit of a sigh on your face.
Yeah, you
What
asked
I
me how I
saw.
was.
What did I do?
You asked me how I was.
Yes, I didn't tell you who I was. I said, is that Bailey? Mistake number one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, are you Bailey Truscott? Mistake number two. So if I met you face to face, Bailey, and I went and shook your hands, it would be weird if I said, hello, are you Bailey? Are you Bailey Truscott? What would I say?
Or I'm assuming if you're calling me, you know who I am.
Yep. So if I was shaking your hand and I met you personally, what would I say?
Hey Bailey, how are you, mate? You look good today.
Yeah, I might. What do you normally do when you introduce yourself to someone?
What's your name?
Tell them who you are.
Yeah, I tell you who I are. So what I should have done is said, good morning or good afternoon. This is Kelly Tatlow from Ray White Morfettville.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can say, and we'll talk about, I'll check that it's you. But that is the number one thing. If you ring up someone and say, is that Bailey? May I please speak to Bailey? Can I speak to Bailey? Am I speaking to Bailey? You're doing the actual opposite of what everyone wants to know. They're probably thinking, who the hell are you? So the first thing is, good morning. This is Kelly Tatlow from Ray White Morfettville. If Bailey had said, hi, it's Bailey, then I'd go, hi, Bailey. This is Kelly Tatlow from Ray White Morfettville or Ray White Glenelg or wherever I am. So I've gotten that first. You wanted to know who I am. Then I might say, may I please speak to Bailey if you didn't say your name. And then I would go brilliant or amazing if you said yes. And then I'd get straight into what I wanted. Bailey, the purpose of my call is, the reason I'm calling today is, I'm calling to let you know this, and straight into the call. And then I've ticked off those two things. Most people say, is that Bailey? Can I speak to Bailey? And then they ask the really big, silly question, which you think might be polite. And it's polite if you know the person. What's the next silly question that they ask? Chantel,
What do you want?
Yeah. What did I ask? Sorry, Bailey. I said, hi, you Bailey? And he said, yes. I said, oh, is it Bailey Truscott? He goes, yes. I go, oh, great. Thanks. And then I asked him a question because I was trying to be a bit sucky. And what did I ask?
How are you?
How are you? How are you? Okay.
Yeah.
In my world, that's a crime. I know it's not really a crime and you might get away with it. But has anyone had an experience of asking someone how they are and had a not so great response? Yeah?
Yep.
Have you had the response, which I think, Bailey, you did, not bad, all right, like they hate it. Or they might even be worse and go, well, I'm actually busy, or I'm feeling sick, or how the hell do you think I am at the moment? Like I'm locked down here.
It's like taking a gamble, that question, isn't it? Because everyone
It's
feels
just
different on different days.
exactly. And it might go okay. And someone might have a lovely conversation, but it's really great. It's a gamble and it's just can throw you off because
I had someone say that their husband had just died. So yeah, that definitely throws you off.
Yeah.
And what did you say to that?
Just was like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And then you don't know where to go from there. You know, all right, I'll let you go type thing. And they still don't really know who you are or why you were calling.
Yeah.
So
and because it's a bit weird to go, hey, do you want a market review? Or got a really nice open home I'd love to call you to. Exactly. It's too risky. It happened to Joseph said it happened to last week. Yeah.
Sorry to interject. I had an example the other day. I met this gentleman at an open home twice. Really nice old man. His name's Aldo. He was looking for purchasing a home, but then I just rang him on one day, asked him that question, how he was, and he's like, mate, I'm just going through a separation. It's just not a good time. So I didn't take it personally because I know I've already spoken to him, but you just never know what you're going to get. Open a can of worms when you ask that question.
Yeah. And if you've met them, if I ring Bianca or I know you guys now and I'd ask and it's all cool, but it's risky for you, but also the other person knows you don't really care and it's just a bad habit, particularly when you guys already told me you just want to know who I am and you don't want to engage in small talk. We as Australians say, how are you, to be nice. The intention's good. But in a business sense, and particularly here, it's probably nicer just to get on with it. So we might redo that call with Bailey. Bailey, if you can take yourself off mute. And we'll try it differently. So I'll be the phone ringing. Ring, 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 ring.
Hello.
Oh, good morning. This is Kelly Tatlow from Ray White, Morford Vale. May I please speak to Bailey Truscott?
Yep, speaking.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks so much, Bailey. Look, Bailey, the reason I'm calling you today is to let you know, I know that you own the house at 57 Smith Street. We've just listed the house right next door to you. You won't see a signboard up yet, but I just wanted to, have a chat to you about it and see if you've got any interest.
Yeah, okay. How much is it on the market for?
Terrific. All right, we won't go any further. Thank you. So it doesn't really matter why you're calling. That's going to be done in other sessions that Bianca's doing. But do you see how I was still really lovely without asking how you are? And when I talk to agents and say, look, don't say how you are, they go, well, it really makes me feel polite and I feel rude not to say it. But you don't have to say it if you just answer the two questions. Kelly Tatlow from Ray White, Morford Vale. May I please speak to Bailey Truscott? He said yes, brilliant, or thanks, or amazing, or wonderful, something uplifting, straight to the point. What do you think about that? Pretty simple? It is so simple, but I reckon if you walked around an office and listened to 10 people making phone calls, maybe one person would approach it that way. We start off all mandy-pandering. We ask how they are. We get a sense of they're going, not bad, whatever, and then we lose them. And then we're nervous and we start stumbling, takes ages, and we set off the phone call really badly. So the preparation is for you to write down before you make a phone call who I am and why am I calling. And I would write that word down, the reason for what you're calling down, not more than a sentence, You might be calling about 100 things, but the customer doesn't want to know that. What's really simple one sentence, and then have a pause. If you don't write that down, you might get on the phone and start fumbling around and actually forget why you're calling. So good morning, good afternoon. This is whoever you are, Bailey Truscott from Ray White and the office. We often say Ray White Real Estate here because some people in particular areas, Ray White's not dominant and they think it's a person. Or in Queensland, there's a chemist brand called Terry White. So they think we're calling to tell them about their prescription. So we're very clear, and then we go the reason I'm calling or the purpose that I'm calling. See how I said, may I please speak to, yeah, you too. Yeah, so I would go real estate. The other thing to think of is all preparation. Remember how I said to you and to Bailey, you might be doing hot yoga, you might be picking up your kids from stop, drop and go, you might be having lunch. Every single person that you're calling, if you haven't organised a time, they're doing something and you're interrupting them. So that's a good way to think about it. You're interrupting someone's life. They haven't asked for you to call. They're not expecting it. So they're actually doing something. So they're going to be distracted by what they're doing. And occasionally I hear the team here say, oh, that person was a bit rude or they were a bit short. And I go, well, fair enough. They're living their own life, having their best life, and you've interrupted them. So they're entitled to do that, but you've just got to be really clear, let them know who you are, what you're calling about, and get straight to the point. I also asked Brodie, Bailey, if he had time to talk. I would put that as the second critical mistake. So tell me why. Who'd like to tell me? I was really lovely that time, the first time, and I said, you've got a couple of moments to talk.
You just give them an opportunity to say no straight away.
Great. Yeah. What do you think the percentage of people to say yes or the percentage of people that would say no?
It's probably about 70% no, 30% yes.
I reckon they're just thrown the money out the window, or he's thrown your time out the window. Exactly. And also, they don't even know what you're talking about yet. You might be saying they've won the lotto. If I'd asked Bailey if he'd had time to talk, he was getting a little bit annoyed with me, and he said, oh yeah, I've only got a few minutes. But if he was in a nastier mood, he might have said no. But he might have wanted to know about that property for sale next door. Like, how great if he was thinking about purchasing, but because I handled it the wrong way and he said no, he didn't even get a chance to find out. So I wouldn't say, have you got it's usually not 2 minutes. We're usually lying anyway. I would just leave a pause. And once you say, this is what I'm calling about, I left the pause, and then Bailey filled the gap and started talking. But if Bailey hasn't got time to talk, or it's dangerous, or he's driving, or the kids are fighting, they'll tell you. And then you go, look, that's perfectly fine. Let me try you another time. Is there a better time? So 2 big fatal mistakes. What were they? Someone yell it out. I'll pick on someone. Tim, what were the 2 fatal mistakes?
Asking him if he had time, obviously we
Yes.
won. And then, sorry, I missed the second one.
So that's all right. Someone can help you. The first fatal mistake was asking how they were. Yeah, from Lisa. Yep, how they were. So I'll get you to look at the next slide, B. So preparation is just knowing, writing down, who am I, and getting straight to the point. Good morning, this is Kelly Tatlow from Ray White Real Estate, Glenelg. May I please speak with Bailey? He would usually say yes, because I've gotten straight to the point. Something uplifting, amazing. Thank you, Bailey. That's wonderful. The reason I'm calling, or the purpose of the call, straight to the point. Once you've done that, if that's all you've prepared for and you've been able to subscribe while you're calling, most calls go pretty damn well. You don't need to do a lot more preparation to that than that, because you've started the call well, you sound professional, and you've gotten the person talking. And I'm sure you've probably made calls where you haven't opened it up for the person to call to talk, and you've just been chatting and it feels really weird and creepy. Would that be right? If you're going, God, I'm just talking here and they're not responding. It's because you haven't left a pause. Purpose of my call is blah, 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 and then be quiet. They will talk. That makes you feel comfortable. And then depending on what they say, you guys are skilled enough then to know where to go. The other thing I wanted to talk about is to tell the truth and not be corny. So I wonder if you guys have received any calls from other agents. Possibly you have. I get a lot of calls from agents around the area that I live in. And I can tell they're not telling the truth because they all say the same thing. I don't know whether they've all been to the same sort of scripting class or something. So have you ever had a call, or have you ever heard anyone say, look, I'm calling to let you know that I'm going to be in the area next week on Monday and Tuesday, catching up or visiting some of your neighbours. Have you heard that before? Stems up? Yeah. I always ask what neighbours, because I know them all. I go, that's great. Which neighbours? Is it Colin and Sue, or is it Douglas and Mary in front? And they flip out because it's a lie. They haven't made any appointments with my neighbours. They don't say it. It's not true. You're going to sound creepy and weird, even if they don't call you out on it. If you are meeting with the neighbours, then that's completely fine. But be specific. Look, I'm catching up with Colin and Sue at number 3 on Saturday. And then Barbara and Robert, you know, have got me coming over. We're going to meet them on Thursday. So while I'm doing that, it'd be great to catch up. But mostly it's not true. So don't lie. What's the other one? I auctioned a property recently. I've got all these buyers. I've got this lovely couple from interstate. They really missed out on a house and they really love yours. Once again, if that's true, that's all cool. You can say, I've got the beautiful couple, Jennifer and Peter, coming up from Albury, or coming over from Albury in New South Wales. But if it's not true, don't say it. Like, just get straight to the point and be truthful. If you haven't met someone before, just go, listen, I haven't met you before. The reason I'm calling is I really want to develop great relationships with people in the area. You know, I thought I wanted to reach out and introduce myself today. If that's the reason, say that. If the reason is, look, you know, I'm pretty new to the area, or I specialise, or I really want to specialise in a particular area, Mount Barker, just say, I haven't met you, but I'd love to catch up, and I really love to start sharing our, Ray White information, or Ray White Now document, or whatever it is, say that. Or if it's about the open home, talk about that. If you ring and say you're in the street, you say to mention who you're seeing, what about. Is that confidentiality? Yeah, was that confidentiality? Well, yeah, look, it could be. You might have to run the gambit on that. Yes, it is. Is that, you're saying it's breaching confidentiality? Okay. If that's the case for you, don't say it, but only say it if it's true, because they'll work out if you're not in the street. They won't see your car, or they'll talk to their neighbours. So if you are seeing people in their street, but I don't even know if that's a really great reason. Like, is someone going to meet you just because you're in the street? Surely you want to meet them for some other reason, to form a relationship with them, or to start keeping them up to date with the property that's selling in the area. I'd be a little bit more highbrow than that. That, I'd love to meet you, to sort of develop a relationship with you, so that I can start sharing, the data that we get across our whole group from our economist, or to start sharing with you the local listings, to invite you to the properties that we have for sale, to let you know about auction results. I think that's more relevant than just you're in the street meeting with neighbours. So I guess the message there is to tell the truth and be original, and not just follow the same line that everyone else does. Okay, next point. So you've started off by not making the mistakes, thinking about who you're calling. If they've been to an open home, address that. If you met them at an auction, create the relevance. If you haven't met them, it's completely fine to tell them you haven't met them yet. They're not wondering, and then just get straight to the point. The other things around preparation in greater detail are to really have a think about the brand and image that you want to portray. So I know face-to-face that agents spend a lot of time, you know, the nice listing kit, dressing up, looking really nice, all of that sort of stuff. Think about that on the phone. Stand up, get some energy going. Have a cup of coffee if that's what's needed for you. If you feel more energetic in the afternoon, make the calls in the afternoon. If you feel more energetic in the morning, do it there. Speak a little bit louder than you'd normally speak because the telephone muffles you a little bit. Slow it down if you know you speak fast because the person's doing something else and you're interrupting them. Be energetic. If someone asks you how you are, don't say good thanks. That's boring. So I'm incredible or I'm amazing. Your phone call is your brand and your image, and so is your voicemail. If you don't get onto them, which you probably won't get through to 70% of people on the phone, don't leave a boring voicemail. Have some energy, be a little bit unique. Hi, Kelly, it's Kelly Tatlow here. Sorry I missed you. I'd love to speak to you. Give me a call. This is my number. Whatever it is, mix up your voicemail. It's your brand, and voicemails in particular are a permanent thing they can go back and listen to. And if you sound really boring on the phone, they're not going to want to engage with you. So think about your brand, write down the purpose for your call, super critical. Put yourself into the prospect's shoes. I always think, imagine if you're talking to your mum or your grandma or your sister, they don't know what the word appraisal is. They don't know what, you know, OFI is, open homes. They don't know jargon. Just speak as though you're speaking to yourself 2 years before you entered real estate. Have something relevant and of value to offer. Like I said, I don't think being in the streets really relevant or of any value. Do you want to share a really great market review? Would you love to send them right now? Do you want to invite them to an open home? Would you like to thank them for attending an open home and see how you can help them find, you know, the property that really suits them? We'll talk more about that, and Bianca will talk more in subsequent sessions. Have a plan. How many clients are you going to speak to? Some people love making calls and some don't. If you're going to make 10 calls, write yourself a plan for 10. If you want to make 20, write yourself a plan for 20. Don't be distracted. That's the only way we can do it here. We have people set a number of calls and they have a break and then they go back to their next number. Allocate the time in your diary. It sounds really crazy, but most people don't get to their calls because they don't put the meeting time in. They put their meeting times in with their prospects and their clients, but they don't put their calling time in. So pop that in your diary. I would suggest you do your calls somewhere where you're comfortable. Some people don't like doing them in the office. If that's you, go into a meeting room or do them from home or do them from the car as long as you can update Volt or My Desktop. If you're in the office, maybe have a headset so that you can't hear the background noise, a noise cancelling headset, and the customer can't hear the background noise. I make a lot of my calls in the car in the morning. When I'm at work, I usually go into an office. I do a morning block of calls because I'm fresh before I get into my day, and then I usually allocate 2 p.m. onwards for calls. That works for me. But it's having a plan and preparing that opening and closing statement for your calls. We'll talk about closing statements later on. I know that's a lot of content about preparing, but most of the really bad calls I see is people don't know why they're calling. They make things up. They stumble around and they don't get straight to the point. They ask the person how they are and that annoys them. They just don't get into it in a clear and honest and purposeful manner. All right, next slide, Bianca. A lot of stuff. All right. This will be covered off more in the other sessions, but there are so many people for you guys to contact. Now, I know you might have different roles, and the different role you have in the business might sort of dictate more. You might spend more in pipeline if you're an experienced agent that's been around and you've got a lot of listings and you've got a big pipeline. And you might have an associate or an assistant that does some other calls for you. If you're reasonably new to real estate, you might be spending a lot of your time prospecting and calling back open home data. So depending on your experience and the role that you have, there'll be different people that you're calling. But during your real estate career, the longer you've been with us, you're going to have people in each of these buckets that require telephone calls from you. So your pipeline, you probably need to be speaking to your pipeline, your current buyers and vendors a lot and very bespoke. And you'll have to have detailed notes, and each of those calls will be very different to those people depending on what you're going to call about. But they're going to be easy calls because they're expecting you. It's a regular thing. You've got some transaction going on. You know, they know you. So they're probably the easiest calls to make. You're going to be calling past appraisals that you might not have connected with, past purchases, the people that bought a home from you. You should be not leaving that a year, calling them every 3 months, and then they're easy. Once you've left those past purchases a year or two, then it's awkward and they're harder, but we'll talk about that in future sessions. You can see that the top, the pipeline, is a really warm relationship right through to the prospecting, which is probably the hardest calls for you to make, which are the ones I've never met before. So each of those call segments will require a slightly different approach. I still think that introduction that we talked about before is relevant for almost all of them, except maybe your pipeline. We can go, hi, Cal, you know, it's Barry here, or hey, B, it's Kelly here, because you've probably got a good relationship. But most of the others require a little bit of formality, but your style will depend on who you're calling. The content of what you're talking about will depend on who you're calling, and you need to prepare will depend on who you're calling. But the really exciting thing is you've got all of those opportunities and all those different sorts of calls to make over time. So your job's never going to be boring, which is great. And over time, as you grow your business, you might have people that you work with to make some of those calls for you. So as you're doing your course with Bianca, I know you're going to be covering open home callbacks and open home door knocking and some of these categories. So we won't get too much into that now. And then the next slide. What are you communicating about? Once again, this will form a very big part of your next sessions, because if you're doing open home follow-ups, you're actually talking about that as the primary reason. That I heard Bianca say, which is fantastic. There's a bit more to talk about, which a lot of people forget, like asking people if they're buying the home for investment, and then seeking an opportunity to involve the property management BDM. You know, asking them if they have got their finance sorted and they've got pre-approval. There's opportunities there if you work for a broker, or it's just good to know how far along they are. So you'll become more sophisticated through the program. There's a whole bunch of tools that make our job easier and your job easier. The documentation and the materials that we have now at Ray White are really not available to the same degree anywhere else. Ray White now is a document that we text that to people before we make the call. So it's really nice to make a call once they've received that via SMS. For some agents, we email it, but it's really easy if you text it because they've actually remember it and they're going to see it. We've just introduced Ray White Now videos, which are state-based. If you haven't yet seen them, I'm sure Bianca will be letting you know about those. So there's a South Australian Ray White Now video. So you can send that out and then you can talk about that. It's a really nice conversation starter. There's market reports, that concierge, we can help with lifestyle communication. There's a lot of resources around that Bianca will help you with. People love to know what houses sold for. They love to be invited to open homes. They love to know when there's online auctions. They love to come to in-room auctions. They love to come to on-site auctions. People love real estate. So we're really in the best industry. People really do engage with you. I know you go out to parties, everyone says, how's the market doing? So phone calls at the moment have never been easier. Every single person wants to know about real estate if they own a home. It's the easiest time to make phone calls. It's just about you preparing yourself and getting straight to the point and thinking about what would be a really good thing to let that person know. I know that, you know, in a lockdown time, whilst there's challenges, it isn't a bad time to make calls either, because people are at home and they do pick up the phone. We find like a 50% increase in pickup rates, and people might be just spending their time a little bit different. They might have more time to talk to you and talk to you about some of the information or the really cool ways you're doing your auctions online or whatever else you're doing, how you're moving digitally. So I think telephone calling is probably the easiest job in the world because I know how to do it properly. And I have seen people go from hating it to really loving it and really feeling successful just by spending that time preparing. Who am I going to call? What amazing things have I got to talk about? Local, national, what can I send? Can I SMS or email something first and then make the call? Can I do a follow-up? Can I do a layered approach? And I'm just going to be a truthful person. I'm just going to get straight to the point and not do all that pandering around. I'm going to leave amazing voicemails because people will call me back. So even if I don't get through to them, they hear my amazing voicemail, they hear it regularly, and then they see my signboard, and then they notice my listings, and I start to generate sort of my presence and brand in the community. So before you even get into any of the nitty gritty, a lot of stuff is around preparing you, your mindset, how amazing you're going to be while you're making your calls, how energetic. If you've got something great to talk about, you feel really comfortable and you'll come across really well. What have I got here? Thanks so much, Kelly. Great contents and great reminders and new learnings. Thank you so much. We're up for time. Does anyone have a quick question? Is there something vital that I haven't covered off for you? You can take yourself off mute if that's the case. Okay, next question. Was that really boring for you? Hands up if it was boring. Good. Hands up if you got some value out of it.
Thank you. Lots of value.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. I would much rather be there face to face with you. I'm supposed to be in South Australia at the moment, but I'll be over there pretty soon. Bianca's organising it. Bianca's all over this as well. I'm sure she could have told you everything that I did, but she just wanted a breather. But if you do want any information, if there's anything I've glossed over or some tricky situation that you've gotten a lot that you go, oh, I don't know what to say in that case, reach out to Bianca because she can sort of send it through and I'll probably see her emails quite quickly. And I'll be really happy to share with you anything that we found that might work in that scenario.
Wonderful, Kelly. Thank you so much. That was great. And hey, I can't believe we kept it to time because there's so much to talk about, but you've primed us for the next 6 sessions. So guys, as a reminder, every 2 weeks on a Wednesday at the same time, 4 o'clock in South Australia, 4:30 Eastern Seaboard. Click to register for the separate sessions and we look forward to working with you. Any questions, Kelly or myself, bdenham@raywhite.com. And enjoy the rest of your afternoon and evening. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you so much,
everyone.
Kel.
Thank you.